Tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here too. I'm here too. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and my good friend and yours, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. You're my good friend too.
Hey now.
Thank you, everybody that came out to Tacoma. Thank you, everybody who came out to Spokane. 13 tickets, shy of a double sellout, which is very impressive. Numbers keep getting better.
T-shirt's gone though.
T-shirts gone.
Wow.
Working on some new T-shirts. Daddy's working hard. And I just want to say that I love you all so much. Like when the show gets done and and there's a line, the line is so long. And I just want you to know that I will always wait to the end. And we'll meet every one of you. And I'd love to have an hour conversation with each one of you, but we'd be there for a week. And so I love you all very much. I can't. You always say to me, hey, you changed my life. I'm so thankful. You guys saved me. Without you, I would probably be dead. And I never, ever take you guys for granted. So I want you to know that. And I try my hardest to put on the best live shows, the best podcasts with my good friends. And it's a blessing to meet all you. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I look forward to meeting more of you on the road. So if you want to see me on the road, just go to samtripoli.com. I only have 2 dates up there. I have dates coming up. I have to put all these dates somewhere. But this weekend, March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I am at the House of Comedy in the Mall of America with Tino Sanchez and ASAP Andrew Rafi, okay? And then at the end of the month, I'm doing Yuma at Crest Ultra Lounge with a couple friends. And I also have a private in Vegas. If you're looking for, listen, we have seen so many of our friends get their YouTubes taken down. We talk about it in the show. If you want Sam Tripoli content, whether it's Tinfoil Hat, Conspiracy Social Club, Broken Sim, whatever it is, Cash Days, it's all on samtripoli.com. It's all on samtripoli.com. If you're looking for premium content, rockfin.com. I have 3 shows on there, 4 shows, 0, which is free now. I'm doing 2 episodes of Tinfoil Hat every week, an AMA and then an interview. Then I also have Conspiracy Social Club with Brian Callen. All this for $15 plus everybody else on there. It's not just me. It's everybody else on there. Go to rockfin.com or go to samtripoli.com. Click one of the links and join us on there. All my videos. I know YouTube can't find me. Guess what? Go to all my videos. They're all available at samtripoli.com. If you're looking for also Cash Daddies has, if you're looking to invest, our Patreon is available right there. And then finally, all my free audios on there. You can click it, take you to Apple, and all the videos are down there. And then just check out our affiliates real quick. Go up real quick. Check out our affiliates. Buy Gold and Silver, Aqua Cures, Hydrogen Brown Gas, and our good friends at Harley's. She said, called her Haley. Harley Ray, crystals, and everything, plus T-shirts. New T-shirts are coming. We're just working on them. And everyone's asked me to get back on Cameo. I'm doing it. Anything else, guys?
Nope. Thank you, Tacoma and Spokane. You guys were fucking great.
Especially Tacoma.
New Broken Sim's out. Brian Callen called in. It was a coincidence that he called in during the recording, but he had some big news for Sam. He's waving the white flag on
Sam
UFOs.
is winning. I got some ideas about Project Bluebeam, too.
You guys have a chart on how many W's and how many
No,
L's
there'd
you guys
just be
have?
nothing but W's everywhere. Right? So, and thank you guys again for the second week in a row. I had 3 shows in the top 200, and they're climbing up. They're getting higher and higher. And so I'm so thankful. So check out our Telegram. Just go to samtripoli.com, screen up and down. If you want to see what my mind is like, just go to samtripoli.com and you'll see all the chaos. And we have a really, really great podcast with our boy, Kian Simone. There we go. Kian Simone. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink.
All right, let's get into it here, man. Very excited to have this gentleman on. He is, in fact, he works for, I believe it's Rebel News up there in Canada, which I'm excited. I'll be there very soon. Like I said, he works for Rebel News. He's a filmmaker out of Alberta. Please welcome to the show. Let's see if I get it right. Kian Simone. Bam!
You got it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, Kian got to see how the hot dogs are made. And there's a lot of preparation in saying the guest name. We all work together to make it happen. That's what we call motherfucking teamwork, okay? Kian, thank you so much for joining us. I know you'd hit me up a couple times, I think on Twitter, and we finally made it happen, and I'm glad you are here. So real quick, before we get into it, I want you to tell our guests a little bit about yourself, our listeners, a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm a filmmaker up in Alberta. I kind of made my name during the trucker convoy, February of last year. I was actually on the show the day that Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act. But I was at the Coots border blockade where the truckers blocked the border between Montana and Alberta. And then since then, I've just been making documentaries about civil liberties, more active on Twitter. If you follow me at Kian Simone 44, I just dropped a new documentary about what we're going to talk about today. You can get the link there in my bio.
And we'll include the link in the description below. Twitter is... we're on a conspiracy podcast. The minute you mention Elon Musk, we hear Antichrist, controlled opposition, all that stuff, and I completely understand that. I'm not against it in any way. I'm open-minded to it all. But one thing I will tell you is that Twitter has a real opportunity to grab a giant share of the market by allowing things on a major website, a major platform that the other platforms won't do. I have to really pick and choose what clips I put on Instagram and YouTube. Legion of Skanks just had their YouTube taken down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like demonetized or
Colin
gone?
Terrell, gone.
Wow.
New. The word, the exact language was YouTube nuked our channel again.
Damn.
So
Man, we're dealing with something different up here. We just got a new law that just got passed. Bill that it's basically a censorship bill. The government can now control what happens on the internet anywhere.
It's such an interesting time we're in because I feel like we're waking more than ever. We're waking up more than ever. But at the same time, there are things going on that I can't believe people are okay with. And the apparatus in which to stop these things are really no longer in effect. So, we have... and I want to get into Canada, but we have this thing going on in Arizona with Katie Hobbs, which it looks like she's taking straight up cartel money. We talked about this the other day. Straight up cartel money. And it looks like a ton of Arizona politicians are completely being paid off. So the people who should be dealing with corruption are now fully engaging in corruption. And the police who should be arresting these people, the court system should be trying these people, are not doing it all. And they're actually going after the wrong people. I saw and this is where I kind of want to get into what you're dealing with, Kian, is that I saw this march in England, I think it was, or the UK, and it was a anti all ages drag show. And the LBGT community came out in mass that it stunned the religious. They were stunned by how many people were there. And not only were they there, but they were yelling completely nasty shit and throwing objects at the other people. Well, in a just society, if you're throwing objects at other people, there should be some kind of somebody stepping up to arrest you. But it's not happening now. So actually the people who are there to enforce laws are now going after the people demanding that common sense be protected. And that's what I kind of see going on in Canada right now. There's no common sense going on.
It's just to build off what you just said there. I live in Calgary, and they just amended the anti-hate bylaw, but they made it illegal to protest a all-ages drag show. You can actually get a fine for protesting a drag show. It's a drag show specifically. Like, it's about that, because we just had one instance where people protested it, and there was like a huge commotion and kind of like a scuffle. So they changed the law so you can't even protest it anymore.
So the question becomes, as police officers, why are you enforcing this law? Why are you protecting the people who are trying to stand up for the children? Why is that happening? And it's really allowing all this to fester so let's say we're at this drag queen show in the UK where we're protesting this all-age drag show, and somebody throws something to me. I walk up and clock them in the fucking face. Now I'm getting arrested, right? Like, these people are allowed to operate without consequence because they know the law so much. Like, shit that happened to me at the Comedy Store. I was talking to the cops, and the cops like, oh, these guys know the law perfectly. They know if you do this, this, and this, you're going to get arrested, and nothing's going to happen to them. So, like, our laws have gotten completely out of whack, right? And I feel like that's what's happening in Canada.
I think that's exactly why we're here today, Sam.
So let's get into what's going on with you. February 22nd, we just had the 1 year anniversary. Is it the 1 year anniversary or 2 year?
It was 1 year. It was February 14th was when the 1 year anniversary of the Invocation Emergencies Act. But February is the 1 year anniversary of the trucker convoy.
The trucker convoy. So give us a little recap of that.
Yeah, so we had the same, everybody had the vaccine mandates. We had our nurses. We had a huge healthcare crisis because we lost a bunch of nurses for being unvaccinated, police, firemen. And, the protests were, I'm sure how they were in the States. It was like a weekly thing where people would just kind of get together and voice their opinions. And it built up to this, I don't even want to say anger. It was like desperation when it came to our truckers. And it happened to American truckers too. Where truckers were basically treated like everybody else going cross-border. You had to be vaccinated to come cross-border or face a 2-week quarantine. Well, if you're driving from Montana up to northern Alberta and then you're coming right back and that's your day, you can't do that anymore because you have to wait 2 weeks in Canada to be able to go back, which is just insane. So truckers obviously fed up with that. They gathered in the thousands to the tens of thousands and arguably into the hundreds of thousands with supporters. And they went on a cross-country convoy to Ottawa. There was many spawns of protests that kind of grew out of that in other towns and border crossings, just out of support and just a grassroots bringing in of people who were upset with the government. And then on February 14th, Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act. I'd say that's about a recap before we get into the good stuff today.
Yes. So one of the things that I noticed about that, and this was a real discussion that I don't know if you want to talk about, but there was a discussion that a lot of the law enforcement may not have actually just been Canadians. That there was some outside, like UN police officers disguised as Canadian police officers to enforce laws. And that has been a big discussion in America, is what happens when you lose law enforcement, who's going to enforce your authoritarian rule? And it has always been the discussion that it would be the UN. And a lot of what they're talking about, the destabilization of America, is going to be the belief that we're going to defund the police officers so chaos breaks out so much, and then see a demand for the UN to come in and have to install law and order. That is what believed to be the plan. Did you hear any stories of that? Any of the enforcement was being done by foreigners?
I haven't heard any of that at all. It works out for me not hearing it, but it was just so believable that it was unbelievable because you had police officers from Calgary, from Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is a province; it's like a state in America. British Columbia, they were all flying to when the enforcement happened on the truckers. But when people talk about like, oh, like how would Canadian police officers do that to their own fellow citizens? The majority of those police were from Quebec, and Quebec has the most disgraceful police force, and they do not care. They don't care. It's like they treat people like as if they were like a foreign police that doesn't care about their own.
Is there like a reason why?
There wasn't enough police officers. The reason why they don't care.
Why are they known for that? Like, why do they treat people so poorly, in your opinion?
I don't know if I could do a comparison with the states. Quebec is. We could actually talk about it later of why about the Emergencies Act, because they actually play they have a big role in it. Quebec they tried to separate a bunch of times from Canada. It's a predominantly French state. Like, we're a bilingual country, but they're a French province. Sorry, they're a French province. It's like 95% of people who live there speak French. So they don't really like mix in well with the rest of the country in their own eyes. Like, they don't want to mix in well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's super divisive. It's upsetting. It's super divisive, and especially with Alberta. Like, we just have this 110-year history of just not liking each other. It's upsetting. But I think that has like a big role in the police and what they did in Ottawa.
Well, it also has to do with that. It fits into the divide and conquer. If you have people fighting with each other, then you're not focusing on that you have like probably a small group of people causing all the chaos. So you get in a fight with each other, French versus, English speaking. We have it here in America. Someplace you go in LA, it's all Spanish. There's no English. I don't really have a problem with it. I love the Latino culture. I love what they bring. I think that there's people, and here we go with the bingo, but I do think they overestimated what Latins would do to this country. I think Latins are Marxists only in the fact that they have to fight the U.S. Government, U.S. intelligence, and their corporations. So they come here. They're way more conservative than Democrats thought. So it hasn't worked. But yes, this is more divide and conquer, and I've heard that forever about Quebec, that they just hate it. It's just so weird that and it's everywhere. If we're watching these protests all over the world, it is always police that are doing all the thuggery.
Yeah, they're doing the bid. When COVID first started, I kind of had a sense of relief. I was like, they're never going to crack down. Like, the police officers aren't going to do that. They're not going to knock on your door to see if your grandma's there and she's not vaccinated. They would never do that. It was a very rude awakening.
Well, I mean, that's why that's why they pick them out. Like, have you ever heard anybody that's tried to be a cop that should be a cop? They told me I was too overqualified.
Yeah.
That I could. Yeah. And then you hear other people who are like, why is he a fucking cop?
Yeah.
Because they know that guy's going to follow the fucking rules.
And it's psychological.
Yeah.
The operations in terms of finding not only people that will follow the rules, but people who are like borderline psychopath. Now, that's not all cops. Again, I have family members that are cops. But it's very unusual who they let in and who they don't let in. Now, this is not an anti-cop rant either, because we've seen what happens when there is no law.
Oh, yeah, never defund the police.
It's a fine line. It's like a check and balance. But yeah, so let's get into some of the stuff you want to talk to on the February about what happened in Canada in the past year, the event, and all that stuff.
So I guess I'd give a background on what the Emergencies Act is before we set this up, because it's really important. When the Emergencies Act was invoked, like I said before, but I was on your show while it was happening. I didn't really even know what it was. I thought I did, because what it used to be was called the War Measures Act, and this was something that was brought in place in World War I when the government, the federal government, basically needed to take all the power, to take the resources from all the provinces, and to basically take all their money and their people and ship it out to Europe for the war. But also it was to imprison Germans and Ukrainians in Canada and put them in camps. It was just to basically, the War Measures Act was to remove everybody's rights so that the government could kind of make the decisions to put the country in a better place in their own eyes. So that the War Measures Act was invoked 2 more times after World War I. It was invoked in World War II, where it was the exact same way that they treated, but this time it was Japanese, not Ukrainian. It was Japanese and German people who they would put in internment camps. It removed the rights of every single citizen. It was able they were able to bring in a bunch of taxes and stuff for it with it. Like it just gives them all that power, right? And the third time was during the FLQ crisis, and the FLQ was a domestic terrorist group based in Quebec who wanted to separate from Canada, but they wanted to separate a little bit more than the other people. It turned into like bombings, murders, kidnappings of like elected officials. It's crazy nuts. It happened in the 60s. And it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, who invoked the War Measures Act to deal with that. So the military came into Quebec to, I think, arrest, it was like 450 people who were deemed as domestic terrorists. And that was heavily contested, invoking the War Measures Act because of a domestic issue in one province. People in Alberta, let's say, or Ontario, who are just to the west of Quebec, they also had all of their rights stripped away for the however long it was invoked for, because they had an issue in Quebec. So in the 80s, Parliament, they amended the War Measures Act to kind of make it harder to invoke, so that people like Justin Trudeau's father couldn't just invoke it whenever they wanted, or whenever they felt scared, or whenever they just didn't have the resources to deal with the situation. And that's when we donned the Emergencies Act. And the Emergencies Act splits into a ton of different subsections of what kind of quote-unquote emergency it could be. And so for the truckers, it was the public order emergency. Public order meaning the order of they could not contain the public, so it's an emergency, right? But what a lot of people don't know is that the government tried to invoke the Emergencies Act for COVID when COVID first started. And this is really important for going forward in the conversation and even forward in just the history of what we now deem emergencies. The government did not meet a threshold. COVID did not meet a threshold written in the act. So the government could not deem it an emergency. They could do it, they could do the state of emergency, or you can announce an emergency just so you can get extra funding, but it wasn't written in law as an emergency where they could strip your rights away and deal with it in their own way. Because COVID had to, it needed to pose a threat to life, liberty, security of not just individual people or an individual province, but the future of the country. That is what they would call an emergency, is when it is against national security. It's a national security threat. And that's where we can transition over into the truckers.
Well, I this is what I find really interesting about this, because this is how they do it every time. They basically used this terrorist organization out of Quebec the same way America used 9/11. Well, actually, what started out, we're going to do an episode on it again with some of the guys from a couple podcasts out there that have been on my podcast, the Tower Gang guys, and then Chris Graves. We're going to talk about OKC, and OKC was a big assault on American privacy, on our rights. And 9/11 cleaned up everything they couldn't get in the OKC bombing. And this is how they do it. They get you into a heightened state of anxiety, and then in a state of, and they manifest, here we go, bingo, we manifest, okay, your desire to be saved. For them to save you. That's how they do it. And you hear them talking about it right now in these WEF meetings. They're talking about a shock to the system, which is what they talked about with 9/11, that they needed another Pearl Harbor to install this kind of international foreign policy that they wanted to get America back into the lead. And they're again talking about it at the WEF about shocking the system so dramatically and traumatically that we will bend over backwards and let them give away any and all needs. So that's exactly what happened. So with COVID, it sounds like the exact same thing, and that I think they thought COVID was going to be bigger. I thought it was going to hit. I think they thought the traumatic effects were going to be much crazier, and it didn't quite get to where they wanted to, even though it got pretty bad. But what they wanted was way worse, and now we're starting to see, that they did a power grab right there, and that's what they did. They get you a heightened sense of anxiety, and it sounds like it was like Canada has a big problem, just like the United States, and that our big cities are really the problems for these weak-minded thinkers, these lemmings who follow the rules because they all work in corporations where they can't be seen as a free thinker because free thinkers don't get promoted. Free thinkers rock the boat. And your bosses don't want people to rock the boat. They want yes men who will do whatever they're told, even if it's not in their best interest. Toronto sounds like I'm supposed to play Toronto soon. I'm wondering when the Gestapo is going to show up and arrest me mid multi-layered dick joke.
Dude.
But it sounds like that's what's going on. That's what he did.
Yeah, you have to let me know when your Toronto show is. By the way, I'm going to come to that. What you said before about the Justin Trudeau's father invoking the Emergencies Act, but the FLQ in Quebec being our 9/11. I know what you're trying to put the point there. I think that the invocation of the Emergencies Act to the truckers is actually that.
Okay.
Because it set a new precedent for what you can deem an emergency. So written within the Emergencies Act, we have something called CSIS, which is our, in an American term, it's kind of like our CIA, but for domestic issues.
Okay.
So that they do threat assessments for extremists and just the whole spectrum
so
of
that
stuff.
For America, that's FBI. Then CIA is for international, if I'm correct, right, Johnny? Is that Johnny's?
Yeah, right. You're right.
So that would be our FBI.
We have the RCMP, which is our FBI. It's our police force. It's like the feds. So I don't really know what
maybe
a CSIS
NSA?
would be to. Yeah, that could be it. That's probably a better way of putting it. But they have like a threshold of what they deem a national security threat, and that section of in their written laws is written inside of the Emergencies Act. So the Emergencies Act cannot be invoked unless you meet the threshold of what CSIS set out of what a national emergency would be or a national security threat. So like we're talking like China comes in with a bunch of planes and start dropping in parachutes. That's national security threat. You invoke the Emergencies Act to deal with it. Or alternatively, there's a tsunami that hits Vancouver and wipes out half of the province of British Columbia. That's a national emergency. It may not be like a threat to national security, but you could also look at it that way, that you can invoke it for that. But they invoked it on the truckers without meeting any threshold. So that is where we have that comparison, like you said, about how that's our 9/11, about how that is going to start setting that precedent of what the government can start doing to its people, because they didn't meet a single threshold of what is written in the law. And that's just not like my opinion. That I lived in Ottawa for 6 weeks when they did a public inquiry into this. And that's what I wanted to get into today, is that I listened to 6 weeks of every single person who went there, including ministers, including the Minister of Public Safety, including the Minister of Emergency Preparedness, including the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister himself. I saw it. I looked in his face when he saw it, that there was it did not meet the threshold to CSIS Act.
Yeah.
And they did it anyway.
What was their reasoning for doing it? Who was in danger?
What do you mean?
For putting the Emergency Act in?
So when I said before about how that Section 2 of the CSIS Act is written inside of the Emergencies Act that it needs to meet a national security threat, and it is written of the specific words of what that means. They made up their own threshold because of how they felt, and I'm not just saying that to be to bash on them. That is literally what they did. They felt that it was an emergency, so that they made their own threshold. I don't even know if that's breaking the law. It's dishonoring the system that is set out, right? That is, I don't even know what to call that. They did it based all on feelings. It did not meet the law.
So this gets into what I was talking about earlier. There are counterbalances. There are things set in all laws to ensure that what am I looking at? The word I'm trying to say? There are things that are set in to make sure there's no abuse going on.
Checks and balances?
Checks and balances. There we go, Johnny. Thank you. There are checks and balances to ensure that there's no abuse. The problem is the checks and balances aren't getting balanced. They aren't getting checked and they aren't getting balanced. The people whose job it is to stop it are not doing it. They are all bought and sold. And what's really scary is now you're getting precedents in court, which is setting a precedent for future cases to be also basically ran like a banana court where the law is thrown out and feelings matter more than facts.
So that's what my documentary and what I'm here is about. It's about that the checks and balances, as like you would say, written inside of the act that whenever you invoke it, you have to have a public inquiry within 60 days after, so that everybody can testify to a commissioner or a judge, tell their case, and then they will get a council of lawyers, including the lawyers of all the people who are involved, so all parties, protesters in this case, and then they would all get together and be able to say their case. And then the commissioner that would then do a ruling on if it was justified or not. And I don't want to bury the lead here because I want to get into all the juicy stuff. But it came back that the commissioner said it was justified for Justin Trudeau to invoke the Emergencies Act. When I listened there, we all listened there. The country listened there for 6 weeks about how they did not meet the threshold. And they legally cannot invoke the Emergencies Act, but a judge came back and said that he was completely fine for doing it.
All right, so get into the juicy. Let's do it. I'm going to shut up and let you talk about what you've learned and what you saw.
So my documentary goes week by week of what I experienced there, and the list of witnesses. There were 65 witnesses. So I grouped it into 6 chapters, and I'll get into the first one. The first one is it's horrifying. When I was there, everybody was laughing, and we're all like, that's kind of when my colleagues and I, and then some of the friends who I kept up with this, I was just like, this is done. Like, it's over. Justin Trudeau lost. Because the first week was the Ottawa residents, not the protesters. It was the people who lived in Ottawa while they were quote unquote, the protesters were quote unquote occupying it with their horns. The first 2 witnesses came to a hearing about national security, whether or not something met the threshold to national security. And they came to talk about how loud the horns were and how bad the diesel smelt. It got so bad to a point where they started talking about how they can't sleep at night to this day because they hear horns in their head, and they call it phantom honking. And it is the funniest thing that they came to a hearing about national security, and that is all they had. That is it.
That's so dumb.
So yeah,
Phantom
it is.
honking.
It's so sus, man. It's
What
so
are we
so.
talking about?
When I heard that, we're like, okay, this is over, because the lawyers who were representing the protesters who were in Ottawa were asking them questions about national security, and they had no idea what the hell was going on. All they could talk about was how loud the horns were.
Look at that.
So it was like such a fantastic revelation to see that. It's so funny.
Yeah, so again,
There you go.
This is everything.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine. This is again what we're getting into. Feelings. People's feelings are hurt. They're hurt over the facts. And this group of people who are in power are using that to strip away people's rights. Again, feelings over facts. Everything's about feelings. Nothing's about facts. And we're allowing these courts. I mean, the Alex Jones trial is a great example of that. People's feelings were hurt, but what were the facts? And he wasn't even allowed to. And that case will most likely get thrown out at some point. But I mean, just the fact that Alex Jones's lawyer sent all this evidence to his prosecutor, or
It's crazy.
the
It's like Brendan Dassey's attorney, it was just like gave him the confession, and had him like interrogated. And I mean, that's exactly what happened to Alex Jones.
and you should have it all thrown out. You'd be like, we
course.
can't get a fair trial. But this blue-haired crazy chick who's worried about the Ukraine judge just fucked him. And that's what's going on here. Honking's mean. I think I saw the interview with she was an Asian chick, I think. And she was, she's like, honking bad, me no sleep. And I was like, okay, lady, we're fighting for your right to privacy and the right to not live in a communist country. And you're sleeping sad. It's like so crazy. Hey, real quick, I want to tell you about our friend James McMahon at Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about Copy My Crypto. Listen, so many people are making ridiculous money from crypto, but did you know it's easy for you to do the same? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the coins that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You simply need to do what he does, okay? So let me tell you about James. He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 26,000 subscribers. Good for him. Since March 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 in each, it'd be worth 123,000. Okay. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, went up 692 times from what he said. That one cause retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to his YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners will get full access for just $1. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. The recession is here, guys. You can suffer like everyone else or choose to thrive. James is the real deal. Go visit the site now. So you had those two. What else happened in the trial?
She, before I move on, she's suing the truckers for $400 million of damages.
Whoa.
I mean, listen.
Because of honking. Because of post-traumatic stress and whatever that was broken, which was never broken.
Because you can't prove a phantom honking.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny is I know this has got to be a tactic where your lawyer's like, sue them for insane money. so just crazy money sounds okay. Like, I'm suing you for $400 million, but I'll take $5 million.
Oh, that happens.
Oh,
for sure.
yeah.
I'll take $5 million, but give me I want $400, but because I like you, I'll take $5 million. It's like, here's $6 gas, but maybe we'll give you $4. Oh, thank you for the $4 gas. Thank you so much. You're so kind to me. That's what she's doing. It's unbelievable. Same thing with this Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, he just gets frivolous lawsuit after frivolous lawsuit. The guy that tried to shoot him is now suing him.
Wasn't he supposed to sue Biden and stuff for calling him
Yeah, who knows what's going on with that?
Yeah.
So she's now suing for that. That's unbelievable. What else happened?
Yeah, and so she has beside her councilmen and women in Ottawa who also testified. I'll skip over them, but a funny
whatever
part.
we want to hear it all.
They weren't talking about phantom honking. They were there to testify at a national security hearing about microaggressions. They got there in front of the judge, in front of the country, and talked about how they were hurt as a community because people were walking around without masks and looking at people weird who were wearing masks, and they literally deemed that as violence, and they testified that that was violence as a microaggression, and it was just insane. But that's when we kind of started hearing from these local politicians and kind of getting a feel of what they were and what they were there for to do at this trial. We heard from the mayor who he took everything as like it was just an entire political show for him, calling them like spawns of the Republican Party because they're terrible, awful, and hard to deal with. It was weird. He brought up about how the community was so hurt because the truckers brought in hot tubs, and they said how it was unsafe of a protest and trying to call them terrorists and extremists because they had hot tubs at the protest on the street. But that is the kind of stuff that we were dealing with and listening to at this hearing. But I wanted to move on to like
I just want to say something about conservative Canadians. The most conservative Canadian is a probably a moderate liberal in America. I mean, 100%. It's just the spectrum is completely different.
Like a Clinton Democrat, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, we go to the mall there. They got adult bookstores and gun ranges. Like, it's like libertarian as shit in a socialist country, though. You know, it's like it's very interesting. So they're conservative. Like when they're like these conservative, not like you got to understand like what they're really talking about. And it's just like. In America, you're totally right. It'd be like Bill Clinton Democrats. How crazy is that? So go on.
It's true. It is true. Well, what we heard at the end of the first week, and but just kind of just like setting it up so that we could get to when Justin Trudeau and the ministers testified. But what we heard in the first week was how the city of Ottawa, so this is not including any of the police service or intelligence apparatus or the federal government, the city of Ottawa had to deal with the truckers for them to leave. And it wasn't to leave Ottawa, it was to leave the downtown core and to get out of the residential areas and kind of just go into a spot that the police are ready for. So they were getting prepped to leave, and the very last minute of this negotiation that I think that it probably took 3 weeks to do, the very last minute, the police put up barricades so that the truckers couldn't leave. And nobody knew why the hell that happened. Nobody.
That sounds like some January 6th shit right there. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that we learn now that was the federal government who stopped the deal. They stopped the truckers from leaving.
Yep.
That they had to deal with the city. It wasn't that they were like trying to leave because they were scared of something, is that they had a democratic deal, a negotiation that took 3 weeks long to leave, or just to move into a better spot that wasn't causing the inconvenience that they did cause.
See, this is where I start to go in. Was it Canadians that did this? And it could possibly be the Quebec police that came in and did that because they hate regular Canadians. But this is where you get into like
regular Canadian,
like the rest of Canadians. You know, like didn't you say there's like a little war between them?
Yeah. It's between the West and and Quebec. Yeah, it was just funny the way you phrased it.
Regular, everyday Canadians. But again, this is what they do in the United States. Sometimes they bring out outside provocateurs that aren't emotionally attached to the area to cause the chaos.
Well, when you went back to what you're talking about, psychological operations, the media and the politicians, the local politicians and the federal politicians in Ontario, which is where Ottawa is, they were fueling the fire so much that before the truckers got to Ottawa, they were already calling them Nazis. They were already saying that, they were already spewing all the anti-vaccine far right, like everything that everybody who's listening is so used to. So like you can imagine people in Ottawa who may have been sympathetic with the cause, who are now being told that Nazis are coming to occupy their city. And then when they do get there, there is no mainstream media coverage. There is only independent media coverage and live streams and whatever that people could watch. So you have the entire country who's looking at the mainstream media still being shown, quote unquote, terrorists, quote unquote, occupying the capital city. And then you put the call out for all these police around the country, like, hey, you want to come help your capital? Do you want to come clear the capital? When they've just been told that there's Nazis there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like, I feel like a good 80% of them are going to go. And are they really it sounds bad, but they're really to blame to be angry if they're being told that, they're being spewed that kind of, propaganda.
No,
wouldn't they get there and notice that they are not Nazis? Like, as a cop, wouldn't you get them and be like, yo, this guy's not a Nazi?
My God, look at these Nazis playing hopscotch with children.
Yeah, in the jacuzzi with the hot tub.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like you can't really even blame Canadians. Obviously, this is a tool of authority all the time. This is how they do it. I have friends of mine who I consider to be some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and some of the nicest people. And here's another: some of the most regular people in a industry of crazies. These people are very regular people, and they think January 6th was like as on par
9/11.
with 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. That's what they really believe. Because
And one person died. I think 2 or something like that. But there's not even on par with that.
There's a couple guys had heart attacks after, but I mean the whole thing is just ridiculous. But they, it's so funny because Canadians are so great. There was a woman who put out this really great Instagram video, but it was on TikTok actually, about how the elites, this parasite group is they're in their death roll right now. This is their death rattle because they're acting so crazy and so out of pocket, and that they're just pure narcissists. And she's totally right. She's totally right. Well, she put out another video that said basically COVID was like a heat check to see who didn't have any ability to think for themselves, who would just go along with it regardless of what the information was. And then they found out. And these are the people that think the trucker convoy is Nazis, that January 6th was a legitimate attempt to overthrow the U.S. government. Even though you have a grandma waving a flag right in the middle of it, and photo shoots and scripts and all that stuff. So, yeah, you're totally right. And those people, there are still people wearing masks today. And I guarantee you that some of those people are police officers who still wear masks everywhere they go because they think the face diaper will save them from whatever airborne bullshit that they're trying to stay away from.
Are those people wearing them for forever? Like at this point, even the government's telling you, they're not telling you to wear it. So are those people just stuck on?
The New York Times literally came out in an article said, all the data's in, masks don't work. They actually do more damage than good. And I've seen people at airports in Seattle, which is supposed to be the super smart area, right? Wearing 2 masks. Wearing 2 masks.
So it's forever? So it's forever?
So for the first time ever, I went to Starbucks today, and nobody had masks on. I couldn't believe it. Those baristas have been wearing masks forever.
I saw that one time in Miami. That's the only and since the pandemic I've been to a place like that. That's like a coffee place. Because every time I go to Starbucks, there's always masked up. In LA, you saw that.
And it gets down to what we were talking about with in LA all the time about it's a certain type of person for what the people that we always thought were really smart, they're not. They're intelligent, and we're realizing that. And there's a big difference between smarts and intelligence. If you have that on your bingo card, hit it now. But there's a real difference between them. You guys have psychologically fucked with me. I need you to know that. But it is for real, because there's no way that you can be a smart person who has a real understanding of how the world works and in 2023 still be wearing a mask. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Your algorithm is lying to you. So if you still think January 6th is a terrorist attack, if you still think the convoy is full of Nazis, if you still think masks still work, and these are your narratives.
And if you don't think COVID came from a lab, you're crazy. Like, they're admitting it to like now.
Dude, okay. Where'd they isolate the virus?
Well, I don't. You said that, but I mean, I have seen places where I don't believe them necessarily, but they say they've isolated the virus. I've seen studies that say they've isolated.
And when you say,
but I don't even know what that means. Really,
yeah, okay, I'll tell you what it means. What it means is that you've isolated the virus, been able to pull it out of one host, put it in another host, and see that virus.
Well, I mean, I've read studies that say they have done that.
Well, okay,
but I don't. I mean, do we even believe them?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I mean, what's the point if they? I don't. I mean, I think that's the wrong way to say that. I just think we should say like we don't believe they've isolated the virus because they say they have.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Unless all these people are lying.
And what do you think about originally? This is always when the mask thing comes up. This always confuses me. Why do you think originally they told us that masks don't work, and then changed their story to masks do work?
Nonlinear warfare.
Okay. It's interesting. I've always found that curious.
Wasn't it supposed to be because they were running out of masks?
Well, that's what they said. Yeah, if you believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think California spent $1 billion on masks. We never even got the mask.
I remember early in the pandemic when they were saying that mask didn't work. I saw a truck carrying masks drop boxes off. It had like they fell off the back of the truck on the highway, and people were pulling over on the highway, just grabbing them, getting them as fast as they could. And I think maybe that's why it caused them saying that. People were so doubtful of the government around that time that it made people skeptical. So then they changed the story to, they do work.
I mean, if you plant doubt and then you come back and be the voice of authority telling you that, hey, now you've created.
Why would they lie?
War between people. I mean, dude, this guy looked like a Nebraskan Cornhusker linebacker that wanted to fight with me in the Starbucks because my mask was here.
Come on, man. Any mask that slides down like that isn't doing anything anyway.
Dude, I mean, like, this was a big guy, and I thought he was going to have a heart attack how angry he was. And I was just like, today's the day we find out if Krav Maga works, bro. This motherfucker's coming, dude.
It's cuckoo.
Like, it's crazy.
I think it's given some people like a reason to live, like a purpose. You know, because so many people lack purpose. That's a real problem.
Well,
today,
yeah, that's another bingo thing on here. Is just like it gives rich kids a windmill to fight. And again, if we go back to Toronto, sounds like our Los Angeles, our San Francisco, our Chicago, our New York. These quote unquote woke cities, which they are, where all these rich kids move because there's work, opportunity, there's fame, there's fortune, and there's just this real like Sex in the City vibe that young people really love. There's a lot of attractive mates, a lot of opportunity, a lot of great nightlife.
It's also expensive.
Well, then that's also you got to get a good paying job,
and you got to follow the rules,
and you got to follow the rules.
Those are the ones that pay well,
and that's why you got bend over backwards, pushing narratives that you don't really believe, and that's my biggest problem with LA and these comedians. I talk to them all the time. They don't believe any of this shit, but they won't get near with a 10-foot pole. Because they think cancel culture is real.
Well, I mean, it is. You didn't see what happened.
It's not real.
No, but the guy on SNL that just did it, what's his name?
Woody Harrelson.
Dude, they're calling him a anti-vaxxer. He didn't say nothing.
By the way, I love that all the Republicans and all the conservatives pushed him. When right in the middle of it, he's like, I'm a Marxist. They clipped that perfectly. That lets me know something's up. The way they clipped that clip where it makes you seem like he just went up there and started talking. No, that was way at the end, and it was 30 seconds. And it was a great monologue, by the way. If you listen to it, it's really fucking funny. And that's what they clipped. He talked about being a Marxist. He talked about all the stuff that would piss off conservatives. And that's Saturday Night Live's way of promoting Saturday Night Live. Do controversial shit, put it out, and fake and AstroTurf outrage.
Somehow get us to talk about them?
Yeah. But cancel culture is real in the sense that a corporation will no longer work with you.
Oh, yeah, it's not real.
But it's not real
Louis,
in that
like
a
Louis
bunch
C.K.
of...
don't need it. You can try to cancel him. Look at him.
a bunch of blue-haired, purple-haired, pink-haired fucking American ISIS fucking can come and take it. That's not real. What they do is they astroturf.
Well, they can cancel you if you play that in that field. If you play that game, if you're trying to move up
ultimately,
in a
the
network,
corporation does it, and that's why they do it so quickly before there's any kind of actual public discourse on whether it's real or not.
If you
They
agree
do
to
it
play by
quickly
their
because
rules,
it makes it seem like this small group of beta cucks are fucking powerful. In reality, they ain't jack shit.
and that's because everybody at a corporation is afraid for their jobs constantly, and they don't want to be the one
That's why
that
I want
screwed the pooch.
Nothing to do with that, dude. I don't want to be anywhere near. I want nothing you can take. You won't see me on it. I'm telling you right now. I have zero desire to work on anybody's project unless it's like a doc where I come up and I talk shit and I leave.
Yeah, like I mean, I remember the last project you did, the TV one. You were the last time ever do it. You said.
Oh yeah, I'm never doing any like. I did Sarah Tiana's NFL show because she's my friend, but that's it. I won't go on fucking anything where I got to sign a SAG thing. And no, dude, I'm not. But yeah, dude, that's what's going on in Canada. It's kind of crazy. So we had the mayor come up going, I'm sad. They're doing hot tubs.
Yeah, that happened. I was lost my train of thought. I wanted to just touch on one thing you said. My buddies are comedians out here in Alberta. They lock everybody's phones up at the start of the show. You ever heard of that? Do they do that down there?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big thing. They've been talking about why Austin comedy shows are so good is because they're taking their phones. They have to pay attention. They can't record everything. And it causes problems because, like, if you go to, like, a Dave Chappelle show and it says the show starts at 7, it really doesn't start till about 8 because everyone has to put their phones into a fucking bag before they go in.
It sucks that we live in a world where you can't just tell people, hey, lay off the phone during the show. You know what I mean? That's how powerful those things are. You can't do that. You actually have to put them in a bag and get them away from your body. That's
Little
how
do you know,
they are.
I'm filming it and going to put out that moment myself. I just want to get the fucking... I just want to get the...
That's a good point.
Wouldn't it be easier for like a device that cancels Wi-Fi or internet connection instead of
Yeah, but
taking
you
away
can
his phone?
film on your phone. You don't need Wi-Fi
You're
to
right.
film.
Yeah.
I think those are illegal too.
Yeah, for civilians. I'm sure the government has a way to knock out EMFs and all that.
Oh, you can
shit.
buy those things on the
Walk
dark
around with
web,
an
and
EMP.
you can be on a bus and just hit a button, and it kills everybody's phones on the bus.
Oh,
Ah, now we know. Yeah, it's crazy. But, you know, the reason they do that, I was talking to myself yesterday because I like to do that a lot. And I was kind of thinking about who's the most targeted. And you would be in this as well. It's comedians, YouTubers, podcasters, and I would put overall content creators because the layout you have, the doc you're putting out, all that is being done on your dime. Maybe Rebel News helped you out, but even if Rebel News didn't help you out, I'm sure you could go out there, shoot it, edit it, and put out this insane, like what Hibbler's doing. Like Hibbler puts out insane fucking docs that compete with the things you see on HBO. And he's doing it all on his own dime.
Yeah.
And that's what scares them, is when you can create content without their banker money. And that's who they're going after. And political correctness and cancel culture is about silencing truth to power. That's what it's all about. Because we've had people be completely politically incorrect and say a lot of crazy shit, and they don't ever get censored. But the minute you start being known as the guy who takes truth to power or the woman that takes truth to power, you suddenly can't upload anything. You're shadow banned into the netherworlds, and nobody gets your content.
That bill I was talking to brought up earlier in Canada that just got passed. It's called Bill C-11. We have something called the CRTC, which is like a arm of the federal government that basically had control over all the radio waves back in the old days. So then after that, it was then TV, and then they never kind of caught up to the internet until now. So that's why, you know, like you can't just put a random commercial on the TV, right? That needs to go through the CRTC. But now it's to YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So the government, all your content has to go through the government, and then they create an algorithm based on what they say is they want it to be more quote unquote Canadian and more French, so that it can be a more diverse upload of content. But what that means is that any content that they don't like either gets put lower on the algorithm or it just doesn't come up at all. So the Canadian government now has control over it.
So what's going to start happening is you're going to be getting these people, and listen, man, I love everybody. I really do. But when you go through the TSA in America, you always get that one person that's kind of angry at life and really busting your balls, right?
Yeah.
I remember when we were, I was going through the TSA one day, and the line was long, and at some point you're just like, why is this taking forever? And I just saw this fat blonde chick go, oh, really? And she just sat there and stared at me and did nothing on the line. That becomes power to someone who isn't used to having power. And when someone who isn't used to having power gets power, they tend not to know how to wield that power. And how with great power comes great responsibility. And they just want to scorch the earth, dude. They just want to scorch the earth and get back to everybody in high school that didn't fucking want to date them, didn't want to hook up with them, didn't want to get
Is
their...
that combined too with anytime you see people, like multiple people a day, they come across you kind of like cattle, you know what I mean? They start to become animals to you, you know what I mean? They start to become inhumane.
Yes.
Or inhuman, rather, and you treat them inhumanely because you know, it's just a fleeting sort of experience. You see that in a lot of service jobs. People who aren't suited to them, it brings out their worst qualities.
Yeah, so you have a future of just like these really angry betas just flagging everything that moves.
Yeah, that's it.
Especially if, let's say, you're really good looking, shredded, super hot chick or super good looking guy.
I'm right here, Sam. Jesus.
Yeah, let's say you're Johnny, right, with a six pack, and you got some guy who just is angry at the world because genetically it's not working out. Bang! He's just hitting fucking sensors on all your stuff.
Yeah. Think about how notable it is though when somebody's really nice in that job and like treats you like a human for the 15 seconds you're coming across them. That I always remember that. I always I have certain airports in my head right now. Like, oh man, they're pretty chill there.
Are you like, I wonder if Bill's gonna be there again?
But do you know what I mean? Like that's how uncommon it is because I remember almost every time somebody's half decent at that job.
Yeah. So this bill's getting paid. That got passed. It's just, and what's the overall feel to these bills in Canada?
That one was big. That one, because it's not just about let's say right wing or independent media who just, let's say, is just against the overreach of government. Like, it's not just about them or us. It's about people who let's say make video game content and they're ripping Call of Duty and streaming Call of Duty and they have like a few viral clips. Like, if their content isn't Canadian enough or isn't up to the standards of what the federal government is going to start pumping their money into, their video game content isn't going to get shown to anybody. Like, it's to that point where young people are like what is going on?
What's Canadian enough? Like,
yeah, are you in Call of Duty in a hockey uniform?
Yeah,
just running around with hockey sticks?
That's kind of what the question is. So what the hell what does that even mean, right? It's weird. It's
no, they make.
I don't even know how to explain it.
They make it like that so they can pick whatever. They make it like that so they can pick whatever.
I know, like on a radio station in Canada, X number of the songs being played have to be from Canadian bands. They can't just be all American bands. If you go to like China, right, in their basketball league, X number of players have to be Chinese.
It's that way in MLS too, Major League Soccer.
Yeah, and all sports.
In Canada
and, all soccer,
and North America.
They have to be X number of Americans?
Americans, yeah.
Because
you're limited international players.
Yeah, you can't just have international because then you're
just come in there and whoop ass.
Yeah, your national team's gonna suck ass, and then the World Cup is just you need a. I mean, it makes sense in a weird way in sports.
A lot of soccer leagues have that. Like England even has that.
But I don't understand how like a girl twerking on Instagram is gonna be Canadian enough. Like, what, she got like a fucking maple leaf as a tramp stamp? Like, how do you do that?
Well, I think that's just what they say so that when people like myself and the organization I work for, Rebel News, when we do something that it's anti-Canadian, I guess I could call it, and then just the bottom of the list.
So obviously you're in this same like community that I am, truthers. You love you're patriotic. I don't know what your relationship with God is. You can or cannot be. That's not my business, none of my business. But we're probably in the same kind of boat and the same field. But like your quote unquote normie friends, what do they think of this when you bring it up to them? On Boxer Day or whatever your Thanksgiving is.
It's funny. A little background. I probably listen to every single one of your shows. So like I'm like in that group, but when I'm working at Rebel, it's just like it's kind of more grounded into like the geopolitical climate of what I do. So when I talk about my work stuff, my friends are just like they're kind of waking up to it more because it's easier to give them a red pill about the Canadian government being bad because they can't afford lettuce right now. So like they're more receptive to listening to what I have to say about what the government is doing beyond just like crazy things like inflation. So when you start talking about like the censorship bill, Bill C-11, or even the Invocation of the Emergencies Act being used unjustified to freeze bank accounts of Canadian citizens, or for when they did it, they were able to look into every Canadian's bank account, which a lot of people don't know about, which is scary. My friends they're normie friends and normal people who I talk to are all waking up to that kind of stuff right now. So it's good to see, but at the same time, it's not getting any better yet up here at all. It's actually getting a lot darker, especially with the Emergencies Act stuff coming out now. So the big thing with this, it's crazy. I'm just totally going to jump ship right now, but it's a crazy point that the report from the public inquiry that the documentary is on that we were talking about, it was supposed to come out on February 23rd, and that's why like I messaged you on like the 15th. I was like, oh, if we could get this in like 2 weeks, it'd be crazy. I'd have all the information for you. They pushed it to the 18th for some reason, and it was like really weird because it's the federal government, or it's like the government kind of appointed judge. Like when does the government ever get things out early? It came out on a Friday morning. We heard about it Thursday night that it was going to come out at 12 o'clock on Friday. At 11 o'clock on Friday, CSIS, so our like NSA, FBI, the news broke that CSIS found China meddling in our elections. They meddled, and it's confirmed. It's everybody here is talking about it. That like, why is there not a new election? Because China literally paid money and meddled in our election in 2021. They waited for that news to come out so that they could just bury the Emergencies Act right behind it.
Oh my God, you're totally right, bro. You're totally right. I mean, I would drive around parts of Canada. I remember I was in Calgary a couple years ago. And everybody was like, fuck Trudeau. I'm like, oh, this guy's done. And then he just keeps winning. And I go, how is this possible? Because the guy can't even walk the streets anymore, and say whatever you want about Q, but that was its big thing. Like, they soon won't be able to walk the streets. And it doesn't seem like that is something that Trudeau can do. He doesn't seem like he can walk the streets. It doesn't seem like
when does the leader of a state ever openly walk the streets? I mean, it's not something that happens. You're not going to see Biden strolling up Melrose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
some ice cream.
Maybe you're right. I just think it's like, I don't know if you've seen the videos lately. It just seems like there's a lot more like vitriol towards him than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I mean, Reagan got shot, so.
Yeah, by his vice president.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't walk the streets either, is what I'm saying.
Why? Yeah, but he literally got set up by his own person.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I'm just saying, we've been there before, though. I mean, people have hated politicians for as long as there have been politicians, it seems like.
This might sound like a dumb question, but China fucked their election to make Canada into China first, or to attack us from the inside, how you always say. Because why are they so interested in Canada?
To get their people in that will be favorable to China, right?
Yeah. It's I mean, we also have like the third largest oil reserve in the world, and our natural resources are just insane. If you took out, if you had Alberta, Saskatchewan, which are 2 provinces, and then just like a little bit of South Dakota and Montana, you could have like the 9th biggest economy in the world. You have every single natural resource that you need. Canada is extremely valuable. It's not the population; it's just the land. China loves American land too, but I mean, Canada, I guess, is just a little easier maybe for them to access.
Like the more and more, like we've had people come on the show and they've talked about how there's a lot of propaganda against the Chinese, that all this social credit score, which was American intelligence invented, taken over there to be workshopped. But more and more, I'm seeing stuff about their oil problem and their population problem. I think China has a big problem coming up, and they're desperate to try to fix it, and that it's going to have to get really bad. They're going to have to do something dramatic, and this seems like part of that, to get a hold of the natural resources of Canada so that they can bring it over there to China, because they don't have any oil to make fertilizer with.
Damn.
They have Russia though.
Well, yeah,
Maybe
and
they don't wanna
then
depend on
Russia's
Russia.
also like, there's some stuff going on with Russia as well. We'll see what happens. China's now like, you guys are going to negotiate peace. So it's super interesting what's going on, right? It's like,
I saw a story this week that they want to have the military ready, to invade Taiwan by 2027. That was a big story. It was everywhere. I don't believe it.
they're going to take Taiwan.
Oh, you think so?
And that,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're
I
gonna
don't
take
think.
Taiwan.
I don't think we'd let them. I
They're
don't
gonna
think
take
America's just
Taiwan.
gonna let it. I don't.
Well, the story, the subtext of that story was that they had been kind of dissuaded from going as aggressively toward Taiwan sooner because of what's going on in Ukraine. What do you think about that? Like, that's kind of worried them, that they thought kind of Russia would just head straight to Kiev, it'd be over quickly, and that has worried China. I don't believe that at all.
I don't believe that at all.
My
I think Ukraine is getting its dick kicked in, and they're trying to make it seem like it's really bad for Russia. I think dude, we're seeing more and more that they're like, dude, Ukraine is lost. They're not going to be able to do jack shit. This is a money laundering operation.
I don't even think it's a real. I don't think Ukraine's getting their dick kicked in. I just don't think anything's happening, really.
Well, I was podcasting this last night, and I said that Dana lectured me. I got lectured by my girlfriend. How dare you say that there's nothing happening in the Ukraine? People, I'm like, how do you know? Did you see it on your news? And this is what we're talking about.
Well, but somebody made this point on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, though. But how few, isn't it striking how few images we've seen of actual combat? Bodies. There's so few. Think about it, even Vietnam.
It is a
televised
money
war.
laundering operation.
But you don't think this is great for China? That
Well-
we're giving all our air force, all our weapons to Ukraine, and wouldn't this be a perfect time for China to invade Taiwan? We're over here busy giving Ukraine money.
Bro, we're sending them all of our we're sending them our Ataris of
You think
fucking
so?
weapons.
Those
right?
tanks, those
We're
Abrams
not
tanks are
sending
legit.
them our
Is that
Xboxes.
he wants the good shit though, right? We're not.
Who?
The tanks, if they send those Abrams tanks, those are legit war machines. I mean,
Yeah,
that-
that's shit from our military.
up to this point, it's been all old junk. Yeah.
It's been like some Audis from in 1985, right?
It's done.
It's crazy. So, anything, because I want to get into Trudeau and his cabinet, but is there anything else that stood out about this hearing that we haven't covered yet? Because I really want to get into Trudeau.
Yeah. So I'll do one thing about the third week, which was like really important, and I think it's more of an important emotionally. Just turn my camera up.
You look great, buddy.
Because we had Tamara Leach, so she's the organizer of the trucker convoy. She was arrested for mischief. She had a mischief charge, and I don't know if there's a crime for mischief in the States, but you don't get arrested for it. Worst case, if you're drunk, you get put in like the piss tank for a night.
Yeah. And
then you're let go and you're just charged with mischief. She spent 50 days in jail, got denied bail, and has a gag order. She's not allowed to have social media. She's not allowed to speak bad about the government. She's not allowed to speak about truckers. She's not allowed to go into Ottawa. She's banned from Ottawa by law. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know how that's law. But she got to speak for the first time because she was in court. So I thought that was just really important, and it's a good point to bring up for people who paid attention to the convoy and may know who she is. Because if you guys don't, I guarantee a lot of your viewers do. She was very important throughout the thing.
What did she say in the trial? What did she say when she finally got to talk?
Yeah, it was straight emotions, man. Like she was basically talking to Trudeau, to the judge. She was talking about how why she did what she did, why she gathered tens and thousands to hundreds to thousands of Canadians together who are angry about vaccine mandates. She was talking about how she heard so many stories of families who showed up to the convoy who had family members who killed themselves or who were going to kill themselves, and then would actually finally get hope when the trucker convoy came through, because it literally was the most peaceful, most unifying protest in the history of Canada. Like everybody was together and nobody had like any differences. It was like the most beautiful thing. So she was just basically talking about that. But I thought I would just bring that up so as a message of hope before we get to the kind of crazy shit.
Yeah. So we're already at the exit of crazy shit, bro. We're getting off the highway to exit crazy shit. We're already there. 100%. And at the end of the day, it's like, I know that this show is heavily monitored. I know that my social media, my phone is heavily monitored. And to those who do that, I only say, I love my country. I don't think American lives are more important than I think humanity and life is important. That's why I'm pro-America, but I'm anti-military industrial complex. I don't like anybody that brings pain and suffering to anybody. I want us to be a flourishing, healthy democracy in the sense of the idealistic sense, where the people have say and the politicians do the work of the people. And I know we're way far away from that. But I in terms of being a threat to anything, I just send love, dude. I'm all about love and putting out love to everybody. And that's what I want. And I think that's dangerous to them. I think this show is dangerous to people because we don't go on one side or the other. I don't fall for the right-left dynamic. I don't fall for the blue versus red, R versus D, because I think at the highest levels, they're all bought and sold. I don't trust any of these politicians. I think we should always keep their feet to the fire. And that's why I do what I do. That's the whole reason behind this show. This show started as, I wanted to do a podcast, and I was interested in conspiracies. Then I started realizing how important this show was, that was resonating with people, and people wanted to learn what was going on. And then I discovered how much I hate getting lied to. I just hate being lied to. So I'm going to fucking throw it out there. And that's what it is, man. And so I understand what she's saying, that she loves her country, she loves her fellow men and women and children, and she wanted to help. And these people have a depopulation, Molochian view of the world.
What they did to her is, I'm sure, what they wish they could do to Alex Jones here.
Well, what about the lady that gave money to the trucker convoy and they froze her bank accounts? Like, that to me is, how do you not wake up going, whoa, 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 this has nothing to do with a virus anymore. Yeah. You're coming after my money now because I support.
That's the crazy thing that comes next is the bank account situation.
I felt like you just roofied me right there for a second. I'm getting sleepy.
The bank account situation got brought up during the hearings, because even the people who were kind of like against the convoy, the lawyers who were kind of battling against it, everybody agreed on the bank account thing about how terrible that was, how awful that was. Chrystia Freeland, who's our deputy prime minister, board member of the World Economic Forum. She's the young George Soros. She's like the prodigy of him or whatever. She is the one who made that decision to do it. She got caught laughing about it, for one, but she was boasting that it was like that it worked. that it made some people leave. And that was because of how many people who was there as a husband, let's say, their wives at home could not buy groceries because all of their accounts were seized. And it wasn't just bank accounts. It was every single, like all your savings, everything, your investments, your insurance, your car insurance, your house insurance, your life insurance, everything. They were able to freeze. So people couldn't go pick up their prescriptions. It's inhumane of what they did. But the crazy thing is that we know that happened. That we knew that happened last year. It was nuts. It's sad. But it's the crazy thing is how it happened or who made it happen. So Chrystia Freeland kind of put that through to the Ministry of Finance, who then told the banks, then told the RCMP, who is like our FBI, that okay, we now have, like, you can seize a bank account if you're a cop, like that's allowed. You can do that. It has happened. But freezing
under what pretense?
Seizing a bank account if you're caught laundering money, or you're a big time drug dealer, let's say, and you have $2 million in your bank account for cocaine. Like, you can seize the bank account until they get out of jail, kind of thing, and see like whatever money it is.
Yeah, in America, a lot of the terrorism laws too allowed for that. People, there were a lot of new laws that allowed for freezing funds because they said that money was being diverted to terrorism. You know, so there was a lot of new legislation.
Now, was
after 9/11.
there a movement to crypto because of this? I saw a lot of people talking because the government was like, "Hey, man, we need to get a hold of this," and they're like, "We don't run the key. We don't hold people's keys. We can't do anything to do." Does that have anything?
Frozen,
to do?
Seized and frozen. Wow. All crypto.
How though? How do you? I thought the keys.
Canada controls it, man. Yeah, they had a way. They had their way. But just to finish the point off of when the RCMP got that information of that they were now allowed to freeze bank accounts, they kind of just handed it to the banks. So our TD or Scotiabank or whatever it is, they handed it to the banks and said, okay, we're starting to freeze bank accounts, do this. The banks came back and said, we don't know whose bank account to freeze. Like, you can't just tell us to freeze bank accounts, right? So this is what the RCMP did, or our FBI. They went to CTV, which is news. It's like our MSNBC. It's kind of our version of that. It's smaller than CNN, which is our CBC. They went to CTV. Who's who in the Freedom Convoy? CTV had a big expose of names, where they work, who they work, which is one, already wrong. Two, that's where the RCMP got the names of who to freeze. That was their investigation of whose bank account to freeze. So if the CTV got something wrong, which they usually do, and they don't usually retract it, if they had something wrong there and put some random person's name on that list, their bank account was now frozen. That's the investigation that they did to freeze bank accounts.
That's fucking good. Imagine if they did that here.
They do. They've frozen people's bank accounts. They've seized their
No, I said arrest people over what fucking CNBC said or what Fox News fucking reported on.
I mean, well, dude, we have Julian Assange is in jail right now for years because of the U.S. government. And again, this gets like my country versus my government. They're two different things. My government is being ran by, here's on your bingo card, Malachians. Okay.
What happened when they get bingo? Are we going to go over what do they get when they get bingo?
Okay, don't even get me started. But I'm really into like what Trudeau is. So the whole movement against the trucker convoy was that they were a bunch of Nazis. It later came out through some really good internet sleuths that the guy with the Nazi flags and all that stuff seemed to just happen to be hanging out with Trudeau's photographer.
Yes, that's a really muddy situation. It's really muddy. I came up a few times during the in the hearings. It didn't come to fruition very well. Like, it wasn't delivered in like the proper ways. Like, so they tried to talk about who the guy with the Nazi flag is. I think they got it wrong. But yeah, it is weird of who, like, just the day that he was there. So this is what's weird. on January 27th, the chief of staff to the Minister of Emergency Preparedness got an email from the Minister of Public Safety, chief of staff, with a list of talking points of what to say about the trucker convoy, which like it would make sense, right? Like they would talk to each other about talking points of how to talk to the cameras and stuff like that. But the truckers didn't even get there yet. So they had the narrative of the truckers before they even got there about how they're holding the Nazi flags, how they're holding all this, like they're racist, misogynist, and whatever. But like, so it's weird that the guy with the Confederate flags and stuff like that was like there afterwards when they were already talking about hatred and vitriol before. In emails that we now have, like that are now open. But what was weird about the Nazi flag and the it was what's the other flag? Confederate flag, which is weird because we're in Canada.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
just weird. Like
weird.
I get having one as like memorabilia in your garage or whatever. Like it's just like an antique, but like in Canada, like it's just not something that you wave around, even if
don't tread on me, man.
Like, it's just not.
Oh,
yeah,
there we go. Yeah. What is that? What is that? Why do you have a Confederate flag in a Canadian protest? Like, I mean, that to me is like, oh, dude, you're obviously.
It's got the trucker too. There,
right? It's so sus, and he's wearing a mask. They're both wearing masks. The Nazi flag and the Confederate flag. They're wearing masks and they're just walking around. Like, dude, I don't think that they're like as big in the story as they blew this up so much.
Well, the reason
that
go on,
yeah,
sorry,
that's the flag. I met the guy who had that flag, and dude, it's weird. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Do you think he was like a provocateur, like sent in there by like?
Provocateur.
Yeah, you think that he was maybe that trying to fuck shit up?
I would say that if the Nazi guy has a plan, 100%. The Confederate flags, I think those are like the weird bad eggs in the protest. Every protest kind of just has the bad egg.
Here's where it gets weird. Okay,
that's a weird flag.
Well, yeah, I mean the Nazi symbol is the Hindu symbol of peace. What they do is they flip everything. So they take something that was seen for most of humanity as a symbol of peace, and they make it a symbol of hate. And you wonder, like, okay, why are they doing that? Does that symbol represent something that we should be better understanding of it? And now every time we see it, we look at it like it's hate, when maybe we should understand that a lot of people used to see it as a symbol of love. And so so when I start hearing these terms, anti-Semitic, misogynist, racist, it's like really weird. It's really weird because have you met a lot of misogynists? Have you met a lot of like racist? Have you met a lot anti-Semitic? Have you met a lot of them? Most of them you meet, they're on the internet.
Yeah.
Right? They're internet people from somewhere else that got retweeted.
Internet and family reunions for me.
Right? Okay. It's either internet or Johnny's family. That's it. Okay. Are there people that blame the Jews? Of course. Are there people who bitch about chicks? Of course. But then when women bitch about men, why is that acceptable? I'm trying to watch it because I've been doing a lot of bitching lately, and I don't want our female listeners to think that I don't love them so much.
8 of them, yeah.
Because I do love them. But these buzzwords, they're used to taint your view of something for a reason.
Poison pill, right? Yeah. The poison,
right. So when we got Nazis everywhere, what's her name? Freeland? Is that her name?
Yeah, Chrystia Freeland, whose grandfather was a Nazi.
Like, what are we talking about here? There are pictures of your grandpa as a Nazi. What are we talking about here? And I've always said this, man. I've always said this. I don't think someone should pay for the sins of thy father unless they get into the family business. And once you're in the family business, then you're open to criticism of what your relatives did. And what she did is some straight up fucking National Socialist bullshit. She did grandpa's bidding. And then my favorite video, and like it was really shocking to me. Did you guys see Trudeau celebrating the Ukraine? Like, this is a guy.
He's yelling at the guy.
This is a guy
What was he doing?
that was complaining about Nazis in Canada while sending money to Nazis in the Ukraine. And Jimmy Dore tried to make this jokey. It didn't come out quite the way he wanted it, but I understood what he was trying to say. And he's a great comic. I mean, he's 10 times the speaker I am, so that's not. But I totally got what he's trying to say there. It's like you hate Nazis here, but you love funding Nazis over there. Like you're worried about the state of Nazis over there, while hungry Nazis can't afford a fucking eggs over here. I got what he was trying to say. But it's 100% true.
How many? Our country has a long and proud history of doing that exact thing. I mean,
100%.
Think about all the armed rebels we've supported who ended up being antithetical to everything our country believes in the end.
100%. So this narrative of there's a bunch of Nazis there, I don't know why people still fall for this. I don't know why. I mean, like, you remember there was a time where Nazis were everywhere. You were looking under your bed because you thought there was a Nazi under there. And now...
And communists, yeah.
But yeah, he demonized Nazis while fully throwing a giant rally, or I don't even know if it was big. Was it that big for the Ukraine?
The rally?
Yeah, that he recently got booed.
I didn't see the crowd. I just saw the clip of him talking. I'm just getting the tweet now to send to Johnny. You guys have to listen to the clip, man. It is like the funniest thing. Someone yells out while he's talking about Ukraine, calling him a dictator.
Well, my favorite thing is someone put a Nazi flag behind him and a Hitler mustache, and it looks so funny. Him like so angry. But the most shocking about can we see that video? Okay, we'll watch it. But here's can you look up Trudeau? Okay, let's see Justin. There you go, Trudeau.
And then you want as a Nazi?
Ukraine. Oh, here it is. Yeah, let's listen to this.
Happy to be surrounded by so many great liberal members of parliament standing with Ukraine. A year ago today, Ukrainians woke up to the horror of war in their... Hey, sir, I think Ukrainians can tell you a little bit about freedom and liberty, so why don't you settle down?
Stop. By the way, that's the worst heckle deal with I've ever heard in my life. It was stupid. And it's really sad that the guy crying about Nazis is now funding Nazis. What really makes me sad about this clip is that they let two guys, it sounds like two guys, yelling, "Fuck you, Trudeau." And based on the fact that he heard it, makes me think it wasn't even that big of a rally.
Oh, yeah, because they would have been shouted down. If it was any kind of sizable rally
Right.
that agreed with Trudeau anyway, you would have heard people going, boo,
Yeah,
boo.
right. So it makes me think this is a small rally. I could be wrong. Shot in a way to make it seem like a big rally to give the effect that people still like Trudeau. But the fact that only two guys are doing that and no one else is joining in.
It reminds me of like the Biden, when Biden won the presidency and they didn't show like how the whole view because there was no one there.
It was
just like this. Why are you not showing the rally?
It's like WNBA games, right? You know.
You want to finish it?
Yeah.
For them, not for you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a high school football game is what it sounds like.
Ukrainians, not for you. If you want to stand and cheer with Ukraine, do that. You want to wave that Ukrainian flag, please do. But let people celebrate that Ukraine is still standing and Canada stands with it. Wow, what a night, what a pleasure to see you. Slava Ukraini!
It's so strange.
Thank you to the Ukrainian Canadian Congress for organizing this vigil here in Toronto.
Stop. Why is there a Ukrainian Canadian Congress? What does that even mean? Remember when they said the World Jewish Congress? What is that? What does that even mean? Why does that have any power?
Who knows, man? I mean, you know.
Is there a big Ukrainian population
Yeah.
in Canada? Oh, is that what
Yeah,
this is?
huge.
Do you want to finish it?
Yeah.
It is incredible to see
Fuck you,
tonight and to know that vigils like this are being held in towns and cities across Canada. This is a night to celebrate Ukraine.
Fuck you. You fucking
Celebrate
suck.
that we are all
We are all supposed to.
Canada continues to stand with Ukraine.
All right.
What is the Canadians feeling about the Ukraine?
You drive around, you see a lot of Ukrainian flags. I mean, I think it's the same sentiment of just like anti-war, but then still caught up in the whole like, send all our money to Ukraine. Everybody's kind of still. It's the same as America, I would say.
It's like unbelievable.
Imagine someone yelling "fuck Trump" at a Trump rally. How long is that gonna last?
I mean, it's happened.
Well, how long does it last?
But he's much better at dealing with it.
Well, his crowds are also much better at dealing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, they thumped these guys out. We've seen it.
It's the
several
best.
times.
That's what I mean.
Didn't Sacha Baron Cohen nearly get his ass beat?
Which
at a
I
Trump
wouldn't
rally?
mind. I don't like that guy. He started out so cool. Now he's just such a piece
He's
of
just
shit.
super progressive. Like way on the left.
Right. Super progressive,
Radical.
anti-American,
Pro-Israel.
Totally cool with how Israel treats Palestinians. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable.
It's the ultimate blind spot.
Yeah, it's the ultimate blind spot. It's so ridiculous. It's so fucking ridiculous, man. It's nuts, man. I just can't believe that, like, people aren't fed up with Trudeau. Like, and, when the whole thing was going on, I'd have Matt Belair on and he'd talk about how amazing America is because our states have so much power. Like, in Canada, you couldn't run to different places. It was the same everywhere. Now we have providences, it sounds like, pushing back against the Trudeau government, saying we're not going to do your ESG bullshit. What are your digital ID bullshit? What's going on with that?
So that's Alberta. Alberta and Saskatchewan. They're the two middle provinces, like more to the west. So we're above Montana and above North Dakota. Sorry. And yeah, we're like, it's like the Florida and the Texas of Canada, if that makes sense. Like at least culturally as well. This is where I ran to. I'm normally from Toronto, but I ran out here during COVID. And yeah, we just voted in a new premier. Her name is Danielle Smith. She's really independence minded. Like she's not pro separation of Alberta, but she's pro like get Ottawa out of our dealings. It's kind of like if Washington DC was able to tell Austin, Texas exactly what to do to the T. That's what Ottawa does to the rest of Canada. So now in Alberta, like we have the new premier, which is our governor, who's basically just like telling them to F off, and brought in legislature that basically will not listen to federal laws. So Justin Trudeau, they're doing a gun grab right now on assault style rifles and hunting rifles, and she basically like put a wall up in the province and said that's not happening here. Like you're not going to be doing that. It's just not happening. Another thing is with the nitrogen cut. They want to cut 30% of our nitrogen by like closing down farms or whatever.
He's delusional.
Yeah. So Saskatchewan, they did that in Saskatchewan. They had federal agents go onto people's farms in Saskatchewan, and we don't have like the same property laws. Like you couldn't just pull out your gun and be like, get off my property kind of thing. So there's these federal agents walking onto properties, and people are like rightly so pissed off. And Saskatchewan, their premier came out and said, if there's anybody from Ottawa caught on a farm here, like we're gonna prosecute them. They're gonna arrest federal agents if they're going onto other people's lands without their permission. Like it's really getting pushed away. So Saskatchewan, Alberta, they were totally on board with all the vaccine mandate crap. But like now it's just getting a little bit too far where our more conservative provinces are just kind of really having our back more with like the more globalist push, globalism policies kind of thing.
Let me ask you something. What is the feeling on Trudeau? Like some people who've been very accurate on their political predictions have been predicting that he's going down. Is there any sense of that?
Yeah, no, there is so the way that elections work here is so weird that it's south of Toronto, not North Toronto, but the south of Toronto determines who's prime minister, because there's so many people there, and they have so many like ridings is what we call them. So like you have so many ridings, which has a seat for someone in the House of Parliament. Whoever has the most seats becomes prime minister.
Unbelievable.
And South Ontario has the most population and the most ridings. So if you win South Ontario, South Toronto, you become the prime minister. And if you look at the voting map of Canada for the past 10 years, it is just pure red, which is our color for Liberals.
Oh, really?
And the rest of the country is blue. Like you go to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Northern Ontario, Quebec, it's blue, 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 blue everywhere. And then you just like look at this small little dot in Southern Ontario, which is Toronto, and that is Trudeau. That's how he wins. It's insane, because it doesn't matter. I don't have a vote in Alberta for who I want to be my next prime minister. When people say that, my vote doesn't count, like my vote actually doesn't count.
And that's why we have an electoral college here, so that LA, New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, Houston's number 3, I think, but doesn't determine who is the politicians. And a lot, everybody wants diversity and affirmative action, except for when it comes to voting, which is basically allowing the little guy to have a say in what happens. Yeah, man. I mean, so the name of your movie is?
It's called Trudeau on Trial. And you can watch it at trudeauontrial.com.
I always say that I'd fight these people for charity, and I would fight Trudeau for charity, but I might be in trouble because he supposedly can box.
Trudeau?
Yeah.
No, you go watch the video after this, man. He can't box.
Oh, really? So, hey, Trudeau, fucking charity, all the money goes to whatever Ukrainian gay men being able to get abortions, okay?
Can you imagine?
All right?
You fighting
You
Justin
want to
Trudeau?
fight me?
I would love
okay?
that.
I've taken 3 days of jujitsu, and I still haven't taken my yellow belt in Krav Maga, which I've been talking to them about making this happen. So let's fucking go. That is called Trucker Rebellion, Trudeau on Trial. I hope everybody sees this and watches it. I think Trudeau and that fucking Nazi offspring are so dangerous. And I hope people wake up to it, because Canada is beautiful. I love Canada. I love gigging in Canada. You can do political jokes in Canada. It's a wonderful place. The women are beautiful. The Coke is way better than America. Okay, I haven't done in Coke in years, but for some reason I get up there going, how do you get all the good Coke? But they're great, and I hate seeing what's happened to your country, because once you give up something, they're never giving it up again. I can't even believe that California's about to give up its emergency what's it called? Emergency powers. It's like 2 days they're going away. Thank God. I can't believe it, because usually once they take it, they don't tend to give back. Yeah. All right, Kian, one more time. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Kian Simone 44. That's the best place to see most of what I do. And then just go watch the movie at Trudeau on Trial. There should be some links there. It's a docuseries, really. I put the full thing up behind a paywall, but you can watch the full thing for free by episode. You can even go to YouTube. They haven't kicked it off there. If you go to Rebel News on YouTube, just go to Trudeau on Trial and watch it there.
Dude, I love what you do. Sorry it took you so long to get on, but hopefully everyone will see your movie and get out. And I hope that Canada wakes up in time to stop what seems to be the slow march to a fucking communism, dude. So thank you, Kian, for coming on. I look forward to it, and don't hang up when we're done. Guys, see me in Minneapolis this weekend. I'm so excited to be back. Mall of America, even though they don't have Pita Pit. I'm still upset about that. But, yeah, I'm going to take those dates down. Got more dates coming out. Go to samtripoli.com. Check out our affiliates. We love you very much. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Please stay tuned after these promos for a clip from the latest Broken Simulation.
All right, guys, real quick before we're done, we want to tell you about all of our affiliates. It's a great way to support the show. As you know, fiat money is chaos. Okay, fractional reserve banking, dangerous. The best way to get out of it is precious metals, in particular silver and gold, and that's why we're working at Wise Wolf, okay? Wise Wolf, silver and gold. Just go to samtripoli.com or samtripoli.gold, and you could join, and he's hooking you up. They got great that you can either buy single time or you can sign up for their program where you can buy up to $500 a month. I'm doing it. I hope you can too. We also have everybody at Eagle Research. That's right. Eagle Research, AquaCure Mobile, Model AC50 brown gas, hydrogen brown gas. The guy who makes it says it's secure. People are using it. Check it out. Just go there, use the promo code tinfoil hat, 3 words, and get a discount. Go back to the main page, Sam Tripoli. You will get you get a discount with the promo code tinfoil. And then our good friends over at Haley Ray CrystalShop.com. Go to the promo code is Swarm 15. Get 15% off all your crystals, all your quartz, all you name it. What do we got here? Look at all this stuff. All this stuff. All the best. You can do it right there. It's all part of the best crystal shop on the internet. Jewels, bracelets, clusters, you name it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Candles, you name it. You got it. Swarm 15.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. This is I want to hear your take on this. This is a good question.
Brian Callen, you're on Broken Sim right now.
Hey, well, I was calling to just do a little mea culpa and say that after listening to my friend Eric Weinstein on Joe Rogan, I might be coming over to the conspiracy side.
How come? This is the best thing about Brian Callen, and I love him so much, and we're on the podcast. Brian, I tell Brian everything. He doesn't believe me. We just go at it on show, and then we hug at the end, and then somebody else says it in a different voice, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think no."
But Sam, he's a theoretical mathematician and a physicist.
Yeah, Brian, and I'm a Dick Joe Common who had a crystal meth problem. What's your point?
Right, that's a problem. The problem is when you say I don't believe in nuclear bombs, you go big bombs go boom.
Yeah.
He tends to have
Hey, Brian, quick question. Brian, quick question. Is Palestine, Ohio an inside job?
That is not an inside job. That is clearly just a mistake that happened because trains derail, and sometimes they're carrying.
You are wrong, sir. Goodbye.
That clip was from the latest episode of Broken Simulation. It's available on YouTube at youtube.com/Sam Tripoli and in every podcasting app. Please subscribe where you can because they are shadow banning the shit out of it. Thank you very much.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack.